Welcome to Deep Dive. I'm Kevin Benedict, your host today, and I want to thank everyone out there for joining us. And I'm so excited to have as our guest today, Amanda Mountain, and she's the Vice President of Marketing Communications for SAP Digital. Amanda, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Kevin. Good morning.
So Amanda, where are you calling in from?
Well, first, I do just have to thank you again for inviting me to chat because I've been looking forward to this all week. So this is my fun Friday. Thank you.
All right.
And I'm calling in from the Winter Wonderland, which is Syracuse, New York, right now.
Oh my!
I've been lucky enough to live and work remotely here for the last 13 years while I've been at SAP, and we've got a good 2 feet of snow outside my window right now.
Oh, that's terrific. Well, I'm calling in here from Boise, Idaho, where we all wear bow ties. Of course, we all know that. But up in the mountains where I was a couple days ago, we had 3 feet of snow as well up in McCall, Idaho. So I can appreciate winter wonderlands. Terrific.
Great. I love your bow tie. I think you should have your guests wear them too. You can send me one next time.
Oh my, that would be funny. We'll have to do that, Amanda. So let's just jump into it. Tell us about yourself. For those that aren't familiar with you and SAP Digital, why don't you just fill us in?
Great. Well, I'll start with me. I took a really meandering route into the tech industry. It started in nonprofits and wound through government relations and consumer advertising and cause-related marketing before settling into analyst relations, which was really my entree into SAP and my career with SAP. So that was industry analysts like Gartner, IDC, Forrester, and working with them to really educate and inform about SAP and various products. But I've been with SAP, like I said, about 13 years. So moving on from analyst relations, I have moved into the SAP Digital team when it was formed about 3 years ago. SAP Digital has about 95 employees within a larger company of 95,000. So we're like a little startup inside of SAP.
That's brilliant. So talk to us about SAP Digital. I mean, there's all these really interesting groups like SAP CX, there's SAP, what are Leonardo? There's all these different areas. So what's the focus of SAP Digital?
So the core difference for us is that SAP Digital is about how you do business with SAP. We're not a product. We're here to make it simpler to do business with SAP. So SAP Digital is about being able to buy online from SAP and our partners at the very high level, and that requires a lot of transformational effort to change the way SAP does business in order to deliver that better digital customer experience.
Interesting. So let's dig a little deeper into SAP Digital. What does that actually mean? What are you providing that's different?
All right. So and it's good to dig deeper into digital because I have found it means many different things to many different people. So we're at the forefront of SAP's own digital transformation. So this includes, change management, an emphasis on a new way to engage customers digitally, completely improving the way we sell and the way that customers can buy from us. So we started with the digital buying process first, and perhaps the most visible or noticeable place where you can see evidence of digital's work is on SAP.com. So if you spend any time on the website, even a year ago, it was very aspirational. It was a brand website. It was beautiful pictures and, very inspiring, but it didn't have very much product information. In fact, it had very little product information. And so one of the ways you can really see the impact of digital today is some of the product pages, like SAP Analytics Cloud, has been greatly enhanced with product information, customer testimonials, demos, but also a buy now button. Transparent pricing, the ability, you can purchase in a couple clicks. You can have your product, is particularly if it's a cloud product, provisioned very quickly and delivered very quickly. So we've sped up the whole process for the customers. We've given them all the information that they might need to make a purchasing decision, kind of curated in one spot. And our customers aren't looking to just buy a product. They usually want an outcome. They have a business problem that they're trying to solve. And so a product by itself is not the solution. They may very well need to know about the partner apps and APIs that are available to extend that. They may want some reassurance that if I buy this, I'm going to be able to have the right training and support. And so if you look on SAP.com now on the product pages that we've gotten to, and we haven't gotten to all of them yet, but the ones that we've gotten to, it's this very much more curated experience. You have the level of detail you need. You're able to drill into things. You're able to compare editions. Often you're able to start a free trial, which could then move to a purchase, or you're able to get a much more robust kind of demo experience. And you can click buy now, and we're able to transact online, either via credit card.
That's terrific. And I know, SAP is 40 years old, so there's a lot of legacy processes, legacy content, legacy ways of doing things. That's got to be a big challenge for your group.
Yeah, and we've been working on it for a while. So we're about 3 years old now. And, this has been a lot of change within SAP. I think of it almost like an iceberg, and you see that little buying experience at the top, but everything underneath it needed to change, from legal processes to contracting to how we track things on the back end, our own CRM and CX systems. And the really, I think, exciting thing for me is also that we're using SAP technology to do this. So we're running C4HANA. This is how we power our B2B e-commerce business. And so a lot of the same challenges our customers are facing, we're facing ourselves. And, we're telling everybody, digital transformation, and start with the customer experience and reimagine it and rethink it. And we're able to stand up and say, yeah, and we're doing it too.
Oh, that's brilliant. So your role in this 95-person organization is that a VP of Marketing Communications. So what are the kinds of regular things that you have to do?
So my team has responsibility for both internal and external comms, and so the full gamut of communications. And then on the marketing side, I would say it's the awareness side of the marketing spectrum. So we kind of draw a line, where it would cross over into more paid advertising demand generation, and we're more on the awareness side of marketing, because so many people are still so surprised that you can find an SAP price online, that you can buy online. I mean, it is something that needs to be repeated over and over again. And then on the internal side, it's incredibly important, given the kind of change management that has to happen for this sort of transformation. It takes a lot of kind of encouragement, consistency. You've got a very wide audience that you need to reach. Those other 95,000 people all need to help the 95 succeed. And I consider it a win if one of our people on our digital direct sales business, our SAP store business, they have to have a meeting with somebody in revenue recognition or in legal, for them to go into that meeting and to have that other person they're meeting with already know a little bit about digital, already understand the vision is to help customers, to make it make it be simpler to do
Right.
business with us, so that they know we're not asking for change's sake. We're not going in and disrupting things just to disrupt them. That there is a very thoughtful end goal in mind, and I think that helps make those conversations smoother. I look to provide more of a fertile ground for the rest of the team, so that they can get their work done more effectively.
That's so interesting. So, Amanda, I know this question is, I didn't include this question in my original outline, but it just seems like you're going to be pulled into personalization projects where you want to make your website more dynamic. So based on whoever's coming to the website, they're seeing something that's relevant to them, maybe based on their company or whatever. Do you guys get involved in that part? Is that somebody else's responsibility?
So it's certainly in part digital, but there's also a whole team within marketing that also it runs the website, that looks at end-to-end customer journeys, that understands somebody in this industry needs to see something different than in this industry. If it's the first time you visited the site versus the seventh, there's different levels of information. Of course, there's a whole team on the GDPR side to make sure that we are using non-identifiable information, and yet stuff that still allows you to have a more personal experience. So there are other people who are experts in that, and that's all going on. But we do definitely connect with that, because we also are able to help surface, some of the relevant, the purchase history, things that would help, because people want to be known. If I've already filled in my login, in a different page here, I shouldn't have to do it again.
Yes.
If I'm coming for support help, you should know what I'm running, in order to help me better. So all of it comes together.
That's fascinating, because there's so many different components. There's SAP customer experience as a group. There's marketing as a group. There's SAP digital as a group. Everybody has to work together with the GDPR teams as well, to make it all happen. So that is a big ship, or a big iceberg, if you would, as you put it. Absolutely. So you've been in the industry for some time now, and 13 years here in this role. How have you seen marketing communications kind of evolve as a profession, and what in their areas of responsibility over that time?
So I've seen a couple kind of things happening. One is speed. Everything has to happen faster than it did last week, faster than it did last year. Mm-hmm. I have also seen the, kind of more blurring of the lines of responsibility, and I think different groups if you looked at another company, the size and scale of SAP, some areas of responsibility might be in different teams than they are at our team. So it's very much sort of how the business has evolved, whether marketing is, sitting in a global role, a regional role, whether communications is under marketing, or whether it's a separate department. It really varies from company to company now, and there's a lot of blurring of the lines. But that blurring also, it's a symptom of something that I think is very positive, which is the ability now with kind of the digital economy to be able to do a lot more integration. So you can really have very end-to-end marketing communications. You can layer things together. Things can be, much more kind of seamlessly done, and you don't have these standalone assets out there kind of all by themselves. You can have a much more integrated program going on, and I like that.
Oh yeah, and that kind of flows right in with this year's emphasis at SAP around the intelligent enterprise, right? Where you can have one central location of data, so you have that end-to-end visibility into a customer's journey, whether it be through their marketing, through their initial contact, or once they purchase, is their onboarding exercise, their customer support, their subscription models, if that's what they're in, all of that, so you have visibility into that from end to end. Absolutely. So SAP Digital, it's interesting. I've noticed that you guys have all your own kind of social media handles, Twitter handles, and all that as a unit. What was the thinking there that, why did you guys invest in having your unit have all its own social media handles?
So we do have our own, we have our own Twitter, our own Facebook. We've got about 50,000 followers, a little over that,
yes,
across those, which is a nice solid number. And, kind of the community that we have on social really does like to hear from us, if we're having a promotion, are we having a promotion on SAP, open SAP course reactivations? Is there a discount on Crystal Reports this month?
Mm-hmm.
They like that, and they also really like to hear about the ecosystem innovations that are available from our partners. So I talked about SAP.com being probably the most visible area where you could see the impact of digital, but we also run SAP App Center, which is another URL which really allows the customers to see the full scope of the partners that are available kind of surrounding SAP. So there's well over 1,000 partners, many apps and APIs available for purchase on App Center, and our digital social channels also kind of help tell that partner story. So we like to kind of feature customer and partner case studies and that sort of content is something that community on social really likes to engage with. However, that's not actually the most important role that social plays for us.
Okay.
Because we are an online business, we need to be accessible if somebody has a question or needs help. So customer support is actually the real business reason that we run a social channel for SAP Digital. If somebody needs something, somebody has a question, they don't understand something didn't work, it's another channel. Besides the chat on the website or the phone number, or the email, it is another way, and sometimes a more responsive, fast way for them to get some help and get their questions answered.
So if anything doesn't work in the SAP world, just go to SAP Digital, right?
I did not say that, Kevin. But if something isn't working for you online, within our digital properties, this is one of the channels that we deliberately have put out there so that we can help.
That is so useful. My wife yesterday was having a struggle with her Gmail on her MacBook, and it just stopped working. And when it's an organization like Google, there's like no one you can contact. You just have to go out on a safari and search for it yourself, right? Anyway, so it's always good to have somebody, if something's not working in an online environment or digital environment, just have somebody to reach out, at least be directed to the right place.
Yeah, and my team, running the social channel probably doesn't have the answer immediately, but we have a really good partnership with our commercial operations and our SAP store support team, and they're really great in terms of customer service. So we work very closely with them.
That's terrific. Now, I've been around the SAP environment for a long time. I served 4 or 5 years as an SAP mentor, and then as part of the SAP influencer program. So I always like to ask this question: what role do you see influencers playing in what you guys do?
So we definitely feel like influencers play an important role, and it's funny that you mentioned the mentors, because that is one of the groups that I feel is very important for all aspects of SAP, because these are people who it's not the size of the following that makes them a mentor. It is how helpful are they. I mean, mentors, as you know, are they're selected because the community says this person answers questions. This person steps up. This person is super knowledgeable. And so, I find the mentors very valuable because they can be, they could be an SAP employee. They could be, with one of the large SIs. They could be with a more traditional analyst firm. They could be a citizen developer or a, developer within one of our customer companies. So these are folks who really have a deep knowledge of everything SAP, and they can bring in context and history, and that type of engagement I think is really important, particularly earlier on in a marketing communications program when you are putting things together, when you're really ready to kind of test out how something needs to be communicated. Is it simple enough? Does it have the right level of detail? Are we able to answer all of the questions that might come up? So for me, I like to engage influencers early in our process. I don't look at it as a kind of a broadcast function because I do think it's an easy trap for marketing communications professionals to fall into. To only see the audience, like they're only seeing the end audience, like how many people can I reach? If I get this person to work with me, how many 100,000 followers am I going to be able to talk to?
Right.
For me, that's not that's a nice side benefit, but that's not the reason that you engage with an influencer. It should be somebody that you are able to have a strong two-way dialogue with, somebody who's got deep domain expertise, somebody who's authentic, and that it's a natural pairing. It should be, we authentically can work together. This makes sense. And there's going to be valuable input coming in from that influencer so that they're having influence on SAP and on the marketing communications program just as much as they're having influence with their follower audience. And if you can't have that kind of symbiotic two-way engagement, then that's not the scenario for me.
Thank you for sharing that as well. So you brought up, Amanda, earlier that you have responsibilities both for internal and external communications. Why don't we get tactical on this one?
All right.
Platforms,
roll up my sleeves.
Yes. What kind of tools and social media sites and platforms do you use to get the message out, both internal and external?
All right. Well, let's start with internal. So I don't know, Kevin, you are probably familiar with SAP Jam, which is it's an enterprise collaboration tool, works well for teams with larger groups. And so internally, we have a very large Jam implementation across SAP, and a lot of different org units use that. So we have a Jam group for digital, and I use that as it's almost the content engine. So all the new fresh stuff goes up on Jam. It allows people to interact with your content and with the information at a much more, kind of granular, detailed level. So they can get in there and they can ask questions and they can vote questions up and they can, you can do polls and you can really, it's good for facilitating that sort of group dialogue. So we use Jam heavily for internal comms. We also have what I call an anti-newsletter. So when we started digital, and I talked earlier about the importance of bringing along the other 95,000 people along our journey, we needed a way to communicate out to everybody else at the company. And so we started, I didn't want to start a newsletter, not another corporate newsletter. Yeah. So we call it a communique, and we do it very modular, very bite-sized, and very visual. And so we put that out, but it is kind of powered by Jam. So the content lives on Jam, the email goes out, and it works in a very nice cycle so that the email drives more people to engage on Jam, and Jam generates the next email. So it works really, really well And we've gone from when we started that, DigiFiles is what we call it. And we started that in, I think, November of 2016. And so we're just over 3 years old now. And we started with 300 or 400 subscribers, and we now have close to 3,000.
Yay.
And these are people self-selecting, like, hey, I actually want to get an email. I'll read it. We've been thrilled with the open rate and the click rate for that. So of course we're able to measure this. It's a tool that SAP IT actually developed called Mailwave. So we have that underneath the newsletter. And the last time we measured, we do this every 3 months, we take a measurement. We had an open rate of 92%.
No, that's unheard of.
Which in standard industry newsletters, the average is somewhere around 23%. So 92% is amazing.
Yes.
And then we had a click rate of just over, it was 12%. And so 8% is usually what you could expect with an internal communication like that. So to have the 12% is also awesome. So that means not just opening and looking at the initial headlines and the initial stories, but then taking that step to go one step further, really content.
Good.
So internal jam. We also do a lot of Skype meetings, and the other thing, which may be surprising, because here I am doing marketing communications for SAP Digital, and we're talking about all the digital economy and all the virtual things that can be done now. At the end of the day, there is no replacement for analog, in-person, one-to-one communication. And it doesn't need to happen all the time, but there is a time and a place for it, and you can't forget that. Sometimes you just have to put people together in a room.
I know. I mean, in my role, I do a lot of what you might refer to as evangelizing for our capabilities in our company and stuff like that as well. And there's times when it's not going to be a webinar, it's not going to be email. I'm going to go sit down with them, and we'll have it for that reason. There's being able to kick back in a chair and just have a conversation about life and things like that as well, and bring that into the relationship is an important component. So talk to me, Amanda, about trends that you've seen over the last, let's just say 13 years. What are some of the trends that you're seeing in marketing communications in general, outside of SAP, just as a professional? And, how are things changing? You said, we talked about internally at SAP, but external as a profession.
So I would say a couple things, and these may seem very obvious, and they certainly will be obvious to other marketing communications people. But so the rise of the visual component of communication, video, interactivity, augmented reality. So there's just a much kind of richer layers of information and communication that can happen, and the visual, I think the rise of the visual component. We talked earlier about speed, and the need to be able to react and move quickly, and also about that ability for things to be much more integrated, end to end. But what fascinates me, and what I think people really do need to keep an eye on, is the macro trends that are going to impact the whole world, not just marketing communications. So there's things like artificial intelligence and machine learning and digital biology and quantum computing. I cannot pretend to be able to predict how they are going to impact marketing communications, because those things they're going to be imagined on the fly. They're going to pop up overnight. But I think that you need to keep an eye on those types of trends, which are they're going to reshape industries. They're going to, completely change economies. They're going to, have a rise in a whole new competitor set for a company. It can happen overnight. So I think that it's those types of trends that you need to keep an eye on, because you never know where the next innovation is going to come from. And it could come from a completely, there might be something in medicine which is going to impact marketing communications. There might be some innovation in finance that will impact marketing communications. You don't know where these forces are going to, end up having an impact. So it's good to just kind of pick your head up every once in a while and take a look at the whole world around you and what's happening, because the next thing for your, if you're in HR or if you're in marketing communications or if you're in sales, that next innovation is probably going to come from someplace that you did not think it was coming from.
Oh yeah, one of the books that I have back here that I've recently purchased is on weaponizing information. And that's a whole scary new area that's going to, I believe, impact not only, politics and military and all this thing, but commercial sectors. I mean, what happens when there's bad players in the commercial sector that do a mass misinformation campaign against your company, trying to trash your brands, your products, all that, and how do you respond? So we won't go down that path, but it's a scary vision in the future, and it's something that I think we all need to be prepared about. So turn that page, and let's to a more fun topic here. Let's talk about events. In a digital age, is there still a role for those events, the conferences, the road shows, the meet and greets, things like that? And if so, how does digital support that? And just how has it changed out there, Amanda?
So, yes, I think there's a role for events, particularly as we start talking about this experience economy. And the experience can be digital, but it can also be, more of a physical, real world experience. And I think that we'll see SAP events evolving to be much more about the end-to-end experience, not just about, let us educate you, let us talk to you, here's some PowerPoints. It's not, the future is going to be around the whole experience. And the ability to use, real-time feedback to improve and optimize that experience. And I think we're starting to see it at some industries. I do go to my share of events on a yearly basis. I'm at enough of them.
Yes.
Starting to see some of that already. Every event has a mobile app at this point. And it's taken the place of all the paper and for here's your agenda, and it's much more interactive now. The apps are able to kind of tell you when you need to be someplace. They're depending on the event or the conference, they can be super useful in facilitating networking, which again I think is a big part of giving somebody a full experience, to really help them take advantage of some of the unique things that an in-person event has, over all the digital and virtual types of events that you might be able to have. There are a few kind of overriding factors that make an in-person physical event special. And number one is the opportunity for human interaction.
What? Human to human interaction?
with your peers, with experts, with influencers. And so I think that that there's a lot of really interesting stuff that could be done to better facilitate those conversations and to improve the experience kind of on the fly, so that if you close your eyes and think of the event kind of reconfiguring itself around you, that's in the future, but that's the type of thing that I get excited thinking about.
Oh yeah, you are in Syracuse, you have a home office. I'm in Boise, I have a home office. Sometimes it's just lonely kind of being out here with neighbors and a community that doesn't understand what you do. And then when you get together with similar people in your tribe, your SAP tribe, it's really fun to go, now I'm with my people, right? And
yes.
They understand me.
and Kevin, I think, now correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, and you asked earlier about how, maybe how I work with influencers for our marketing
Yeah.
communication program. One of my favorite things to do, and it'll be the 4th year coming up at Sapphire, is I hold a digital breakfast at Sapphire, which, as you know, is our flagship,
Yeah, I'm
user
there.
event, and I do it before the show starts, like the very first morning at 7:30. But I feed you all really well. I know I've invited you before, and I think you were there last year. So,
this time I'll be there. Okay. I have to.
But that's the fun, because you get that tribe together. You get to talk in advance about what you might be seeing for the week. You make connections before kind of the insanity of the show floor sets in, and it's a much more intimate and informal interaction, and that's when I keep coming back to, there's no replacement for some analog conversation and communication sometimes.
No, that's great. So Amanda, I'm going to wrap up with one last question. What advice do you have for a young, fresh, right out of the university marketer who's just starting their career, and what skills should they really focus on building up to be prepared for marketing over the next 10 years?
So for me, I really think there is no replacement for the fundamentals, for the basics. So critical thinking.
Okay.
You're always going to need it. Writing. That sort of kind of foundational skill is transferable regardless of how the industry changes, how the discipline changes. When I am interviewing now, even for early talents or interns, I usually administer a writing test before I make a final decision, because it's not so much about whether or not you have some typos or you spelled something wrong, but it reveals to me how you think, how you organize information, how you approach a problem. And that's never going to go out of style. So, I think as people are coming up, their kind of natural affinity for, the latest and greatest, you're going to get that from your personal life. And I see, constantly kind of personal and consumer technology in a year or two translates over into the business world. So I really feel like your, day-to-day life and the technology and the new things that you're exposed to will transfer into business, but that's not what's going to set you apart, and that's not what's going to make you successful. The ability to apply critical thinking, to be curious and adaptable, these are more softer skills that you can cultivate, and you can learn how to ask good questions, and to really think things through, and that is what's needed. Because you have no idea what the future is going to bring, but if you've got the right kind of inherent tool set in the basics, you'll be fine.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you think about podcasts, that requires somebody to write a script, somebody to be able to communicate effectively, ask questions, understand, critically think on the flow. If you're doing video, you have to do storyboarding, scripting also, and write and communicate and effectively communicate ideas in a visual environment. There's all the website writing, there's texting, that everything requires that medium of information, which is writing. So even though the technologies continue to evolve and the creativity and the visuals behind all of that is writing.
Yep.
Absolutely. Amanda, you've been brilliant. I've learned a great deal, and I just thank you so much for sharing with all of us today. And
thank you. It has been a pleasure.
And I'm going to be at your breakfast this year.
Good. I will put you down first.
All right. Thank you, Amanda.
All right. Take care.